Good morning, darlings. How are you this morning? I cannot believe we are putting a wrap on our Good Morning Darling Blue study. This has been such a unique and very special journey for me, and the timing of all of this and the way that the Lord has mapped this out just in my personal life. This story has been so important to me, so important to my personal life, and I'm so grateful for those that have been joining in, and you've not just watched the videos, you've done the booklet, and you've done the social media prompts, and you've done the face-to-face prompts, you've done the journal pages, you've done the prayer pages, you've even filled out the menu that you are having this week, and your grocery list, and you've told me all about it, and you cannot know how much that means to me. You cannot know how much it means to me to know that with such a meager offering that God is multiplying it in 1,000 different ways in these very precious places in your heart. So thank you so much. It's been an honor to serve you this month. I'm eager to get to next month, but before we do that, let's go ahead and finish up our study for today. We've been in Luke 5, 17 through 26. If you are just joining us this morning, good morning. And I'm going to back up just a little bit there from the very end of the text, which is in our booklets, but I'm going to go back up to verse 24. It says, "But that you may know that the Son of Man," we talked about on many the importance of Jesus referring to himself as the Son of Man, "has authority on earth to forgive sins. He said to the man who was paralyzed," which is, we haven't even talked about him yet. We've talked about everything surrounding him. But this story, this is where it all climaxes and comes to this incredible ending, and really is ultimately just a beginning. He said to the man who was paralyzed, "I say to you, rise, pick up your bed, and go home." And immediately he rose up before them and picked up what he'd been lying on and went home, glorifying God. And amazement seized them all, and they glorified God and were filled with awe, saying, "We have seen extraordinary things today." We've talked a great deal about the friends that played a huge role in this story. We've talked about the crowd and how the Pharisees played a role in this story. We've talked about at the beginning of this week the large, massive importance of the Son of Man in this story. But we haven't discussed much about the man actually laying on the mat, the one that's paralyzed, that everybody's having all this fuss over, and that all these pieces are shifting because of this man that's been paralyzed on this mat. I actually have waited till the very end of our study to talk about him, because he is I've saved the best for last, basically, because his role is the most important. Jesus most definitely is interested in us reaching across the aisles. He wants us to see how we can hold hands and be together. He wants us to be a unified bunch of believers, loving the world, showing love, giving love. He wants us to do all we can to gather people together. He wants that. He does want that. That's what this is all about. Remember, the context for our whole story that we've been unfolding is the fact that the friends were together, and that this man that was paralyzed could not have gotten to be in front of Jesus unless he had a band of people that were better together, holding hands and getting something, and in this case, an actual friend in front of Jesus. So none of that happens if there's not a together. But here's what's the narrow part of why our faith is so important and why it's so personal. Because this story basically fades to black with no applause. The curtain closes. And the story is just kind of about a handful of great friends that had a great idea and had a good motivation, and it was a good idea. But once they got their friend there was an exchange, and then there was a lack of immediate and full obedience, and so their friend didn't get healed. Everyone kind of felt blessed because they had been very influential, very inspirational, because it was an inspirational story to watch unfold. But the main characters of this story had an exchange: the paralyzed man and the Son of Man. And of all the things that were surrounding it, those two had an exchange. And this is where it gets personal. This is where it gets awesome. This is where it's the grace of God being so personal is amazing. This is where he meets us face to face in a real and relevant way, and he doesn't just basically just wave a wand over the mass of people, or wave a wand over the friends and say, well, y'all are all real inspirational. No, remember, whatever happens corporately happens first privately. whatever happens in a massive group, God does in a very intimate way. And that's exactly what he does. I've written here that we should and can be a part of a great group of believers that encourage our faith. That is our responsibility, basically, as a believer, to engage with other believers and unbelievers, to love, to embrace. We should find book clubs we can bond over, jewelry we can shop together for, trips we can take, memories we can make, missions we can be a part of, passion we can band together for. But if those things replace our personal exchange with Jesus, we are going to miss it. We're going to miss it. I want so badly for you to have a real and relevant and alive relationship with Jesus, because it's for you. Not because your friend Susie Q has this super awesome, she seems to be super Christian faith, and you can just kind of lean in on her faith, and that makes you feel like you have a faith, but it's kind of scary to engage it yourself. I want you to have that kind of faith. I want you to feel that Jesus is meeting you personally, and he wants to come into your real scenario. I want that because Jesus has something so great and personally prepared for your life. Jesus was prepared to meet that paralyzed man in a regular house among regular people. The only thing special about that man's story is that he was surrounded by friends that kept pushing him closer to Jesus. Remember, the we're better together kind of friends. But then once he got face to face with him, he yielded all in order to gain all. He was positioned to receive healing from Jesus, heart and soul. This is where our personal relationship with Jesus comes into play. You have to have a personal exchange with Jesus. You have to yield all you are in order to gain all Christ is, to be empowered, to just take everything that you've been laying on, all the potential God has to do something so magnificent in and through your life, you've just been laying on, just sitting on. And God doesn't even say to the man, you're healed. He asked him just to pick up what he's been laying on, rise, and go home. Get on with it. He tells him to just stand up. Stand up. It says in Ephesians 5:17, one of my favorite scriptures I've said in different capacities, and I say it over my daughter Ainsley every night. Awake and arise, O sleeper, and the light of Christ will shine on you. 9 times out of 10, what's going on in our lives and in our worlds is that we've just kind of laid down and we've gone to sleep. Spiritually, we've gone to sleep. Emotionally, we've gone to sleep. Mentally, we've gone to sleep. I experience this on a regular basis where I realize, whoa, wait a minute, I'm just asleep. And God is just saying to me, Carrie, rise up, pick up your mat, and go on. Go on. Go on to what I have for you. Go on to being alive and awake, and my light will shine on you. That is what he's asking us, and he's asking us to engage with him personally. Personally. Corporate is awesome. We're made for relationship. We're made for corporate. I want us to have that kind of community fellowship. I need it. I thrive off of it. But it cannot replace my personal exchange with Jesus. Jesus wants us to be strengthened and established. This day became a certain day in this man's life. God has something so certain, so specific. He wants you to pick up your mat, pick up what you've been laying on. Rise up. Let the Holy Spirit pour over his healing over your life, and let him do it personally. Don't just get there and stop short. Don't. I'm telling myself, don't. In your regular quiet time places, people ask me this all the time. Well, where do you have a quiet time? Where do you meet with Jesus? Thinking that I have some sort of like quiet room where the world is right and classical music is playing and candles are lit and my Bible and all of my journal notes are all together and condensed, and that is not what's happening. I have written here, and I just want to share it with you. I engage with Jesus in extremely regular places, like straight up regular places. I find him. I push through tiles. I push through the crowds, blow through closed doors, pop tiles on rooftops, risk lowering all that I am right in the midst of my chaotic life, and I find Jesus. Why? Because my life depends on it. My life depends on it. As we have gone through so many changes